Hello, welcome to another episode of my garage podcast. Um, this week has kind of been, I would say, hectic. I just started a new week of school or a new semester. It is the spring semester, and hopefully, I plan for this to be my last semester here at community college. And at first, when I got to the first day of one of my classes, I was a little scared, or at the beginning of this week, I was a little scared. But I had to remind myself of the many things that I've done in the past and just kind of how I've had less and I still have done as much as I can. For example, um, I just got to remember that as long as I put in the work and I communicate with my teachers if there are any problems that I face, then I can face anything head on. And now that this is like my last, or at least I plan for it to be my last semester at community college, um, it feels weird to move on after being in a situation where I hated and just I don't know, I think it's more fear of just being in a new place and the potential that I don't know, that I might not get into the school I want or I mean, I can't really think that way since I don't really know what the future holds for me, if it might be good or it might be bad. But all I know is just I can put the most amount of effort that I can in. And I think I really struggled with that a lot, especially in the first semester, because it was like, I thought it was kind of like community college was a joke, and I felt like a joke, to be honest. But now that I just got to realize I got to treat everything the same. If it's some random school or the best school in the country, I got to treat it the same where I got to put as much effort as I possibly can and just focus on what my passions are and just putting as much effort as I can in generally to succeed and accomplish the dreams I have set for myself. And I feel like it's very important for change to occur so you can grow as a person. And now that um, now that I've had opportunities like this, I realize like how important these opportunities are because many of them may be temporary. And at least while I'm young, I still have time to make mistakes and grow. Like for example, like many of my family members, even though in my eyes I see them as successful, they still made a lot of mistakes growing up, and it didn't up until their like late 20s. That's when they started to get like their bearings and start to get on the path towards success. And I realized like why things like school are so important. It's because it's a guaranteed, as long as you put in the effort, it's a guaranteed pathway to success. And I just took me a while to realize that. And I often forget that. And I have to remind myself to see how far I've come. And with the support of my family or the individual work that I've done, um, I put in to succeed. And I can live the dreams that I've set for myself. And I just got to remind myself, I think it was on Tuesday, I went to go see my math teacher from last semester, and the first semester I had her, I did okay. I got like a B in her class. But the second semester, when I took Calculus 2 with her, I, I did, I would like to say I did really well. In that class, I was helping a lot of people, and I felt like I understood the material a lot because I put in a lot of effort in that class because I really enjoyed math. And hearing that from my teacher, it just gave me a lot of support because on the first day of class, my friend's still taking that class because he has to take like Calc 3 or like multivariable calculus. I think that's what they call it in my school. And after after saying hi, she was like, "I'm very proud of you," and just like she was congratulating me on the effort that I put in, and it just made me feel it made me feel good. Okay, sorry. I thought it was paint, but it's peanut butter that's on this table right now. Just kind of, I don't know. I think my brother is eating here, but that's besides the point. This week isn't gonna be fully just about like philosophy and stuff. That was kind of the beginning of it. In the beginning of this week, I didn't really have anything planned, and on Thursday, I think it was, the Supreme Court had a major turning point in Trump's tariffs, and that's what the majority of this episode is going to be on. And the Supreme Court basically ruled against Trump's tariffs, and they claim that they're unconstitutional. I think, yeah, on Friday, I watched near the end of Trump's press conference in which he was sharing his opinions on his tariffs. Even though the Supreme Court still ruled against his tariffs and claimed that they're unconstitutional, Trump still plans to impose a 10% global tariff, and it feels as if he is ignoring the Supreme Court's decision. And I heard now that it's now a 15% global tariff, and we still have to wait and see how it's going to plan out. But now that we know that these tariffs are unconstitutional and the Supreme Court ruled against them, I want to see how the Trump administration is going to move forward. Trump still wants Congress to go with his tariffs and believes that some in Congress are in support of foreign countries. And there's been a lot of information, especially right now with Israel. And I find it very hypocritical that Trump is blaming other countries and saying that congressmen have foreign interest, or they have foreign interest. But it's very hypocritical because you see how much money they get from PACs, especially APAC. And a PAC is Political Action Committee, and it basically means they support their candidate. They give funding to a candidate in hopes of something in return, or most want something in return. And I find it very hypocritical that he's blaming other countries, but he's doing the same thing. And in light of this news, the Supreme Court voted against tariffs, and the indexes have started to turn around, with many starting to gain value once again. The Dow, last time I saw, was nearing 50,000 once again, because since last week it dropped below 50,000. I think at one point it was at 48,000. And other indexes like the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, they're starting to regain value once again. Okay, sorry. Trump in his press conference felt as if... Sorry, my dog. But in the press conference, it felt as if he admitted the reason for the success of the economy right now is due to the hope that AI will succeed. And I'm definitely somebody who does not see as much hype into AI as investors see. I believe that AI has made things easier, but I feel like it is a little delusional to say that AI won't make as much as a difference as investors are expecting. And there's definitely going to be some winners, but there are going to be far more losers, and I don't want to say this, but I feel like there's going to be a bubble popping, because when we see what happened in the last bubble, the dot-com bubble, where companies were not making any profits, they were not making any revenue, a lot of the revenue right now that's tied to AI is just through cycling. AI, alright, sorry about that, but basically my dog started to get a little crazy. But when we see what's happening right now with AI, especially these huge tech companies, a lot of the revenue that they're getting it feels like it's being cycled around, especially from NVIDIA to Oracle to all these other companies. NVIDIA is investing a lot of money into these companies, and they're getting upwards of like billions, millions of dollars. And then what ends up happening is that company ends up spending all that money, and with that money that they spend, they end up buying more chips from NVIDIA, and it's just this big cycle of somebody gets money, they give it to another company, they get that money and they give it to another company, and this money is just going around and around. And going back to Trump's press conference, Trump, it feels as if he's spreading more hate than good. And even in press conferences, when he's still blaming other people for his inability to succeed, saying that things about Democrats are bad, saying bad things about Democrats, and just even using more vulgar language to explain what is happening with Congress and the Supreme Court justices. Even though right now the Republican Party holds the House, and with his guys, he's still failing to act. Trump in his press conference talked about how he doesn't want to add any more Supreme Court justices who agree with his position, and he believes that the two ultra-conservative justices are already doing a good enough job to support the plans that he has for the future. Because it was a 6-3 vote. 6 voted against his tariffs and 3 voted for his tariffs, and he feels the two of his ultra-conservative guys, they are doing a good job to support his ideas. And he just needs to convince the other judges to follow along, which is this whole situation is just super iffy, and he just might change out justices. As well, an official statement released by the Supreme Court, the ruling was that the president did not have the jurisdiction to impose the tariffs that he wanted. Trump claimed the organization IEEPA, and it stands for the International Emergency Economic Power Act, was used by President Trump to allow for our tariffs to be imposed because Trump felt as if other countries, like, for example, Mexico, due to them bringing in drugs from the cartel, and that's what he specifically blames Mexico for doing. Trump wanted to teach Mexico a lesson and get him straightened out, and the reason for that was the tariffs that he enacted on a country. IEEPA was originally meant to be used during times of war or if the U.S. government was facing a threat, and that's the whole reason that it's used as the framework to give means to the tariffs. And he claims that places like China, Mexico, Canada, etc. were threatening the way of American lives. But the Supreme Court ruled that IEEPA did not have the power to do this. Now businesses are fighting back, with now 5 businesses in 12 states are suing the United States government, specifically the Court of International Trade. The reason that they're doing this is the court has granted the reason that they're suing the CIT, the Court of International Trade, is because of these tariffs. They feel as if they have lost a lot of money because of this. These companies are losing a lot of money, and it's reported that a majority of the tariffs are being paid by consumers, and these businesses and states did not like that at all. And the court has granted a summary judgment to the suing party, meaning that before going to trial, the court has already sided with the ones they're suing. So they're siding with the small businesses in 12 states, meaning that debt will go up for the U.S. government, and it is estimated that they will be sued from anywhere from $150 billion to $175 million. And I got that from at least the information from the Supreme Court's ruling, and I also got the amount that they're suing from is from the Atlantic Council. Trump still wants to fight this decision, though he is already in the wrong, and from an educated standpoint, it makes no sense to me. Another reason why the court ruled against these tariffs was that they did not have any basis. They did not have a set amount of time that they were going to be imposed. They were constantly being changed, and they did not seem to be planned at all. Congress is also to take some of the blame, because when this process was started, nobody in the Congress opposed this and believed that IEEPA had the power to be able to enact these tariffs. And the court believes that that Congress should have taken into account the American people when they had interpreted what IEPA could and could not do. And it's just a very, very like bad thing that's happening right now, to say the least. And the court feels as if Congress and the administration did not follow the Constitution, in which it states that the Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and exercises. Sorry, I got that wrong. If I got that wrong, but it's from Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. And what these tariffs failed to consider is the framing that the founding fathers wanted, in which they had to pay attention to how it affected the money in the pockets of the people. Oh my god, I'm stuttering all over the place. This is not good. I don't know what is happening. And that's why the Supreme Court ruled against it, because Congress did not pay attention how it affect the everyday person. Now, because of the information, the court has ruled that it solely relies on IEPA to give a reason for this and ignores the Constitution, which leads to a serious problem, like now, where many entities are suing the government. And this is from the Supreme Court's official opinion. And because of this... Okay, I thought that was my dog, but... Okay, because of this ruling, companies had a short turnaround, but now companies have to prepare again because Trump is still hell-bent on imposing his tariffs. The best case scenario right now is that Trump is taken out of office because his decisions are making the U.S. lose allies, money, and status because of Trump. Instead of trying to negotiate or at least have a better plan, he wants to choose to chase headlines with tariffs, invading other countries, and putting his own people in power to get his way. And look, I can applaud the principle of what he's doing. I feel as many Democrats state problems and do nothing about it. But this is a big but. His plan is incredibly selfish, doing more harm to consumers, and wants to focus on keeping corporations in the U.S. He wants to grow the wealth divide that is in the U.S. Since now, according to the Federal Reserve, it is visible to see how much the wealth gap has shifted, where in the early 90s, money was even across the board. But now it has shifted so much that the top 10% holds more wealth than the bottom 50%, which is insane to say. And I can say that... Another stutter attack, but I can say that the money that would be taxed wouldn't be... Whoa. I don't know what's happening. Okay. But I feel like it's a better plan to impose taxes on these corporations. And I can say that the money that would be taxed wouldn't go straight to individuals, but towards programs to promote the importance of education, improve infrastructure, and make housing more affordable to those in need. And I feel like this has been a problem for a very long time, and something needs to be done about it to improve the life of the average American. It has to start somewhere, and it can start with people voting more, with around 50% of Americans voting, and the other 50% do not vote. And this is according to the Netflix documentary titled "Whose Votes Count Explained." And in that video, it explains how important it is to vote and why they make it harder for people from different backgrounds to vote. So when somebody tells you voting doesn't matter, you have to explain to them how hard the government fights to make it hard for people to vote. Especially if people that are incarcerated, they can't, like in Florida, they constantly switch back between incarcerated people being able to vote and not being able to vote. And those votes that matter very significantly because it changed an election, because the people that wouldn't have been able to vote would have shifted. Because in Florida, there was an election that was held, and the votes that were taken away from these incarcerated individuals would shift who became the leader of that district. And I feel like having leaders that represent the ideas you share creates a better future in which people can prosper and have a better life. And I feel like, to me, I feel like this is a pretty obvious take, but I feel like the reason that conservatives, or MAGA conservatives more specifically, fall into the trap of believing in Trump and the hateful rhetoric that is spread about people is fear and not wanting to understand others. Like things when it comes to DEI, or the basically DEI, or what they imagine liberals to be, and act like they have no idea what they're hating, but because they have this blind trust in their leaders and often do not question what is right in front of them, they start to hate the mention of these terms and do not understand why this is being put in front of them and why they're being made to hate these things. And I can't say that this is just a MAGA thing, because it happens all over the place with people and their favorite celebrities, but this is a specific example of this occurrence happening. And I can say at least why I believe that this is happening. People that live in a bubble all of your life with people who share the same ideas and want something other, and there's people, and if you live in this bubble and you want something other than what put in front of you, it can be scary, and it is a risk that many are not willing to take. And it reminds me of this video by Brain Games, in which they test the conformity of people, and it's a video titled Conformity Waiting Room, and I'll put the link in the description of this video. But the whole point of this video is to point how easy it is for people to conform to what it is happening without questioning why they are doing something. That is why it's important. I find it very important to surround yourself with people who are not from the same background as you. And it's such an important thing because it allows you to be free from the perspective that you have from the bubble you came from and support the ideas that you have for yourself. I believe that is why I have such an ambition to reach the goals I have. My immediate family, like my brother, my sister, my mom, compared to my family, like my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, it's so different from in the way we grew up. I went to school in which there was a majority of lower income classes in middle school, and I eventually went to high school where there were a lot of upper income families as the majority. And these life experiences exposes me to the world that I thought I wouldn't even be able to imagine for myself, because I took a risk. I wanted to do something different for myself. I saw something that I saw something different for myself from the life that my family and I have. And taking this risk inspired me a lot, seeing the amount of kids and seeing where they lived and compared it to where I lived. It gave me a greater sense of ambition to reach the goals that I have set for myself. And these life experiences exposed me to a greater world. And that is why some may want to stay stuck in the situation that they have been in because they can't imagine anything different for themselves. And why some will stay in low income situations and why others will continue to succeed and have bigger ambitions for themselves. And this video was kind of a switch, or a flip-flop between politics and philosophy, but I find like they're very intertwined. I'm still trying to work on my public speaking and the stutter that I have. I realized for a long time that I mumble a lot, but when it comes to things like this, I want to challenge myself, even though it's very hard and it's very awkward, I would say, just talking to myself. But I want to say thank you guys, and please continue to watch.